Hello everyone and welcome to the Man Seeing the Amazing channel. I don't know how long after I record this it's actually going to go out live to the various people of my audience, who I treasure so dearly. 6-7. I think I'm going to title this like, ruining my draft to make, or something like, I need to figure out how to formulate it. So like, drafting the worst team ever to, I don't know, I might just entitle it, I have an unhealthy addiction to Chien-Pao. In the worst draft ever for a dead meat or something. Like, I want to have like a play on that. So obviously, you know, we got the Chien-Pao, we got the F- team, because trust me, this team is not very good. And it's got the 6-7 to it, and of course we got Skrilla there, too. Skrilla, of course, being the artist who made the original song to 6-7, which 6-7 is about. I had to watch an interview to see if he said what the origin of 6-7 is, because there are, I think, 3 different options. To me, I think when you listen to the song and you hear how he talks about it in interviews, the theory that I rock the most with is the one that it's referenced to 67th Street in Philadelphia. But there's a very large array of assertions. I think it's probably a double entendre between that and the somewhat darker options, which is that it's a reference to the police call sign for someone dying. So I think it could fit interpreting it as someone dying on 67th in Philadelphia, with the dude being them getting shot. Certainly, I think it is relating to a shooting with the dude. It's pretty good. Like, you know, I'm not by any means a Skrilla expert, but yeah, I gotta give credit to the girl, you know, and Chien-Pao. It's so hard figuring out what color to make the I have an unhealthy addiction to Chien-Pao text. I might like A/B test a few different versions of the thumbnail, and it's just the same text in different color. But why is this a 6-7 draft? Well, you see, I'm building a Pokedoku in my draft. For those of you not familiar with Pokedoku, it's sort of like Sudoku. So there are different categories for Pokemon, and for the draft purposes, instead of it being like is fire type or things, is it for a traditional Pokedoku. There are a series of different categories, and the way it worked is that there were what are called packs, so sets of 3 categories that we got to pick which one we wanted, and then the other 3 categories we got through a draft where we drafted at the same time as other people, and we could choose to spend extra on different rules. So the original pack that I started with, and you can shuffle it around, was quarters, which is speed stat divisible by 25, 3DS, which means Pokemon generated in Generation 6-7, and Sketty Cats, weak to bug. Now, quarters kind of sucks. 3DS, I don't know. I think both DS and 3DS are probably the weakest sets. I suggested I actually literally suggested that we do the Pokemon from the different consoles of like the Game Boy generations 1 to 3, DS generations 4 and 5, 3DS generation 6 and 7. After the 6-7 weaknesses rule, which was what originally was rebalanced to also include 6-7 resistances, so that I could draft the double 6-7. That was my entire plan going into when we were building this together. It was actually my original suggestion to try drafting along Pokedokus, and then the 2 other mods in this, to me, to I think a lesser extent, but an incredible amount of thanks to Matt, who is the main commissioner, and then Jace, who also isn't playing, but did a lot of incredible work. Sorry, I'm just looking at the summary. This is apparently an Origami X Anime X J Cole X Kendrick Lamar type beat, so I wonder if this is, maybe this was the original beat that was going to be on the fall off before the Kendrick song were cut. But yes, so I wanted the 6-7 weaknesses, originated in Generation 6 and 7, and Sketty Cat. No, sorry. Then I wanted to draft the 6 and 7 one. I literally saw the 6-7, like, okay, I need to make it so I can draft 2 6-7 rules. What's a good premise for that? Unfortunately, I think Generation 6 and 7 may be the weakest one. There's a lot of good Generation 6 and 7 Pokemon that aren't in the game, like, you know, Tapu Koko, and just the Tapus in general. Alola Marowak is another really strong Pokemon that isn't in the game. I didn't mention this is a regulation. It's a regulation F. Regulation E. One of the regulation that doesn't have restricted legendaries but has like normal Pokemon. And also the other thing I thought about is I wanted specifically to try and draft rules that Chien-Pao would be legal in. So the first rule that I drafted was the second 6-7 rule. 6-7 weaknesses and 6-7 resistances. Because Chien-Pao has 6-7 weaknesses. That was, again, the entire thought process. And I wanted to make sure I got the Chien-Pao rule. That you would not show my mouse. Sometimes it shows my mouse and sometimes it doesn't, and that's so weird to me. Yeah, okay. Huh? How does that? No? Okay. That's really weird. Okay. Let me see if that fixes it. Okay. I still wanted to show my guesser. Sorry. I don't know why I did that. But yes, so 6-7 weaknesses on the Chien-Pao. And then the second rule I went for is very min, much max. So a Pokemon with a base stat below 30 or above 130 in any form. So Chien-Pao is over 130 speed. It's 135 speed. That's why I picked that rule. Now, we'll find as I do maths that a lot of rules suck with quarters speed stat divisible by 25. For example, there's only, I think, technically 3 starters, one of which is Brione, who are in that rule. So the last rule, I'm like, okay, I've already got a bunch of combinations of rules that can work with Chien-Pao. Now I need to like think about what other rules sort of work. Oh yeah, the other thing is, so this is a 10 Pokemon draft. You get, if you got all 9 Pokemon in here, so you didn't have any rules where there wasn't a Pokemon you could draft, then you got a 10 bonus points to draft a 10th Pokemon. And that 10th Pokemon could be, like, doesn't have to fit in any of the squares. So yes, a lot of Pokemon. I wound up with very min, much max, looking at a lot of Pokemon with a stat below 30. Because above 130 was pretty expensive. A lot of stuff in this board, you know, look, Matt asked for a lot of help with hearing, and I did my best to try and help in terms of arranging packs and different rules to try and make it so that there were a lot of Pokemon, there were good options between them, and that they were pretty balanced. But I didn't do as much with like the actual tiers. So some Pokemon, like for example, regular Typhlosion costs 14 points. Regular Typhlosion is not very good. So it was not a great option for the speed stat divisible by 25 being 100 speed and being a starter or evolving from a starter. I couldn't get a single Eevee. No, that's not true. I could get Sylveon, as it originated in Generation 6. But none of the Eevees... no, that's not true. Flareon. I could also have gotten Flareon. Flareon has 6 resistances, I believe. Base 5 types too. But yes, a very hard combination of the speed stat divisible by 25 and the Pokemon with the base stat below 30 or above 130. So I originally started with the top 3 being the weak to bug and the 6-7 rule, 6-7 weaknesses and 6-7 resistances swapped. I realized eventually that I could not draft literally any steel type. Or no. I think there was technically exactly... Yeah, there was exactly one rule combination that could theoretically have allowed... No, yeah, I literally could not draft a steel type. I'm trying to remember through, because I looked at so many things to try and figure out if I could draft a steel type. There's no combination of 2 rules that I have that would allow me to draft a steel type, I believe. Because no steel dual type has 6-7 weaknesses or 6-7 resistances, which is pretty heartbreaking. But it does make sense. Steel has, I think, 10 resistances by default, which is a bit much larger number than 6. So you would need to have something that doesn't add any new resistances and also removes 3 resistances. And I just didn't really exist. Yeah, very, very challenging position to be in. Or something that added a bunch of weaknesses that weren't the types that steel resisted, and that's also pretty difficult to do. So many steel types with exactly 6 resistances and 6 weaknesses. But yeah, like I said, the thing I entirely drafted around is Pokemon number 6-7. I named all my Pokemon after beam numbers. So here we got Skrilla, we got that Tutu. That's the official cover art for the song. It's cropped so that it looked better here. But we got Chien-Pao. So this was the Pokemon I drafted when Sketty Weak to Bug was in the top line, and then 6-7 was on the side. And then once I hit round 2, I'm like, okay, I immediately have to swap the 6-7 and Sketty one, because otherwise it is so hard to get a Pokemon with 6-7 weaknesses that originate in Generation 6 or 7. That isn't like really bad. Like, I think I was like, I could get Pyro. I think that's an exhaustive list, sort of one. No, it was also, you know, I was like, there were very few options. I think like the baby Incineroars, I was like considering, and I'm like, okay, I just need to move these around. Getting Pokemon that are weak to bug does just mean that there's, you know, you basically got to get a grass type, a psychic type, and a dark type. Weak to bug was actually a lot fewer Pokemon than I thought. There are a lot of Pokemon that are dual type that aren't weak to bug, but yeah. Chien-Pao, amazing Pokemon. I've used it a few times on this channel. It's got the ability Sword of Ruin, which means that every other Pokemon on the field that doesn't have the ability Sword of Ruin has their defense reduced by 20%, which means that physical attacks, which means any attack that hits on the physical defense side, so that includes like Sacred Sword from a Pokemon that is in the format, and Psyshock, do extra damage. And I just love using it, having teams that orient around taking advantage of Chien-Pao. It's just my favorite Pokemon of all time, possibly. Probably not. Like, it's definitely not my actual favorite. Like, you know, it's not Salamence, it's not Bagon, it's not Shoutout, right? But it's very fun to use, and like, there's so much you can do by like, by switching out my own Chien-Pao, it's like I'm running Reflect on my own Pokemon, you know, just because of how much less physical damage they take. But if I pair that with like someone else clicking U-turn or something, you know, like there's a lot of different like ways that you can control when your Pokemon are getting boosted or your opponent's Pokemon are having their defense dropped. But you do have to play into it pretty hard. And, I think of all the Pokemon that lives up to the title of 2267, absolutely Chien-Pao. What a killer. That's my obsession. Also, I'm gonna have to figure out how to do thumbnails in this league, and I think it's gonna be really hard. Also, I think this league might have a lot of weeks, so I don't know if I'm gonna go through the whole season of it. And like, even when this comes out, depends on how far I make it in VBL playoffs. So we'll see. But in round 2, I picked another. Oh yeah, also Chien-Pao was 27 points of the 110 I started with, which increases to 120 for my 10th mon, which goes in the slot down. So I'm already out a pretty significant portion of my points, and that continues. Between these two Pokemon, I have spent almost half of my points picking up Iron Hands, who is Order 66. And the reason the order is really small is because I couldn't fit it all on the screen otherwise. Because I'm manually writing in the letters in the same, the numbers are the same thing as the points remaining, but the points remaining is from the actual dock. What I did is I took a picture of the dock and then I put the blank empty slot over what the blank empty slot looks like over all the other ones, which is why they're all like slightly off the side. But yes, so Iron Hands is 50 speed, which is speed stat divisible by 25, and it has like 154 defense or something ridiculous. Like, it has a very high defense stat, so a pretty good attack stat, which may also be over 100 and whatever. But that wasn't the reason. It was the defense stat was the one I'm like, okay, well, this one's definitely over. I think it might have like 130 something attack as well. It has an even number because it's got the ability to walk drive. It has, oh my gosh, I'm wrong. It has 140 attack and 108 defense. Why did I think it had 150 defense? I don't know, man. I've been using too much Cloyster. Now that is a Pokemon with over 100, over 130 stats in a stat. You know, that's that 180 defense right there. But yes, so Iron Hands is a Pokemon that's won VGC Worlds. There was a rule that's like Pokemon that's won VGC Worlds, but I considered doing that over the starter one. By which I mean I was originally thinking of doing that because I just had a list of all the ones Chien-Pao was legal for. I'm like, I've already got like 4 slots I can put Chien-Pao in. You know, it's weak to bug, it's 6-7, it's very much min, very much max. Or very min, much max. You know, like there's a lot of places I can sort of put it. So why prioritize worrying about also, can I say, researching for the 6-7 weaknesses thing was so annoying. Trying to figure out what Pokemon I could use was so annoying. For some reason, I thought I couldn't use Fire types. I thought they only had 5 resistances, but they have 6. I just couldn't count to 6, I guess. But there were so many Pokemon I wanted to use that had exactly, like, Iron Hands is 8 resists, so I couldn't put it in the 6-7, but very min, much max slot, though speed stat divisible by 25 was also pretty bad. And, like, there was so much sort of going on that I had to think about and consider in this, and not having Legal Steel type sucks. Why couldn't Registeel be 75 speed? Ah! Then it would go in the slot Iron Hands is in. And that would have been a lot cheaper than Iron Hands. But yeah, Iron Hands, very good Pokemon. It's got very good physical defense, and it has, like I said, very strong attack. It can take advantage, theoretically, of booster energy, though you also often will see it running like an Assault Vest. It has crazy setup options in sword stance or iron defense body press. There's really a lot you can do tinkering around with its stats, especially at level 50. It becomes a lot easier to get the defense boost. I'm trying to remember. You can run like 100 and something attack investment and still get a boost in defense if you're max defense. 116. I got calc open on the other screen. That's how I checked out Iron Hand stats. But yes, we got Order 66 here. I don't know why Order 66 was one of the first meme numbers that I thought of, but it was. Obviously, the other one that comes to mind is it's like 6'9", but like it's really hard to think of an image for that was appropriate. But yeah, so Iron Hands is a Pokemon which absolutely takes advantage of Sword of Ruin by being able to do insane damage, especially pairing that with Drain Punch to heal back a lot of health. Because like I've talked about this before, but like one of the things that synergize the best with Sword of Ruin, and it's the same thing for the special one, Beats of Ruin. You want to have moves that do multiple hits, so they can deal Pokemon through Sash or behind a substitute, and you are more likely to get a KO by doing that move with multiple hits. You have moves with priority, which allows you to benefit in like discrepancy from your opponent, because you're attacking before they are, and then their Pokemon can feint and then not be able to take advantage of Sword of Ruin. But your Pokemon isn't feinting because it attacked with priority, right? And then draining moves, which are moves that allow you wind up healing more damage. So even though you're theoretically exposed to more damage, you wind up recovering. That is also something which you can really benefit from in this sort of position, right? Yeah, so that's one of the things I think about a lot. And body press is also pretty cool because it doesn't reduce the damage of body press, but it does increase the amount of damage people take from body press. Its interaction with body press is really weird. Where's the other way around? I don't know. It's just like confusing things because I'm also like remembering how Tablets of Rule and Wo-Chien's ability works and stuff. But yeah, Iron Hands, really cool Pokemon. I can do a very large amount of damage, and by pairing a booster energy boost with a stab boost with a Chien-Pao Sword of Ruin boost, you know, just stacking those multiplicative modifiers. Everyone knows that's my favorite thing. I love playing Balatro. If anyone has checked out my second channel, NC Electric, they would know how much I love playing Balatro. And how sad I am that I finished it in that particular video series. But yeah, Chien-Pao, Iron Hands, both really cool, really good Pokemon, and we will execute Order 66 every time Iron Hands is in. You know, those Jedi gonna die. You know, sort of looks like a droid. But yeah, so my next Pokemon was much less expensive, but still, like I would say this is maybe a little bit above what I would consider a reasonable amount for Primarina, but I wasn't too put out by this price. Primarina, 6/7 resists. It resists 7 types, and its first friend is a starter Pokemon, evolving from. So it goes. How am I forgetting the baby one's name? Poplio is a damn shame. Then Brione, and then Primarina here. Primarina is pretty cool. You can run physical. I have run physical sets before. I think I've only run them on teams with Chien-Pao before. It resists a few of Chien-Pao's weaknesses, like it's a good fighting resist. It's a really great way to check opposing fighting types because you can slam out a big Moonblast or even Psychic if they're like Officer Proc or some weird thing, you know. And it's capable of putting out a lot of damage. It's Pokemon which, if you don't have Chien-Pao in, it doesn't matter that you have the minus defense, so you can still take advantage of its pretty decent bulk. And it also, you know, you can just throw like a Jiggy Aqua Gel, like in a Sylvester set or something, and you know, maybe with a Chien-Pao boost, that's enough to pick up a Pokemon that you've weakened with like a Spread Hyper Voice or something of that ilk. As well as it's able to help pick up late games with something like a Perish Song. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any Water Absorb Pokemon because if you have a Water Absorb or Storm Drain partner, when you click Perish Song, they absorb the Perish Song and they with Liquid Voice because it becomes Water type, and then they don't get perished, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's more just about like you can often sort of make these really early trades with Chien-Pao, and then if you're up 3 Pokemon, you can have your back. You know, you trade out the Chien-Pao, and you know, maybe you preserve the first partner just until you get that Perish Song off after you've taken down 2 of their Pokemon. And then once you are in that position, you might be able to clean up a game. Or maybe just you're able to dissuade a lot of the physical offensive Pokemon by having a Pokemon like Iron Hands on the team with a very high physical defense that you're able to scale up. And maybe you have like a body pressing coming out from the Iron Hands, and then you've got like a Carmine Primarina next to it, and you're able to really mitigate the amount of damage your opponents do. Also, it's Life Tube, which is one of my favorite moves. So yeah, very happy with Primarina, who is Pi. Sorry, it's Pi Marina. I forgot about that. I was like, why does it got like a arch there? Yeah, it's Pi, and that's Pythagoras, I think, or maybe Archimedes. I think it's probably Archimedes. Some statue of some Greek guy. Did pi. The Pythagorean theorem? That's triangles. Someone did circles, and that's the one that's pi. Then here in the next slot we got Snoop and Nate Dogg there because this is 420 because we got Blaze Charizard because I don't have Sun. Spoilers, I guess. I don't have Sun on the team, or at least I don't have I have to set Sun manually if I'm running it. So here we are with Charizard, the 420 Blazer. And Charizard, as many people know, a very fun Pokemon for me to use. A Pokemon, especially in Sun teams, right? But I've also run it like there was in VPL we tried briefly to do a singles league. Week 1, there was only one game played, which was me against Jace. I led Charizard, I clicked substitute, Jace missed a move, which I think we then wound up looking would not have broken the substitute. I then clicked Belly Drum and I got a +1 speed, and then I 6-0 swept. Or I think it might have been a roll to break the substitute. Oh yeah, no, I think they clicked like Toxic on the sub or something, and then the follow-up turn they missed the move. But the move was like not guaranteed to prevent me from sweeping, but it would have made it obviously a closer game. But yeah, turns out with the Blaze boost and the Belly Drum up and +1 speed, Charizard's very strong. 1.5x boost, 4x boost, another 1.5x boost from Stab. Sometimes that's all you need. And there's Ari, rest in peace, Nate Dogg. That's the very young picture of Snoop, man. It's always crazy looking at very young pictures of Snoop because before he had the facial hair, it's always been like, oh yeah, that's right. Snoop has a chin under that. But yeah, so it has 100 speed, and it is a starter Pokemon. So 100 is divisible by 25. Again, it was this Typhlosion, and again, I think the only other option was Brione. There were so few options with that specific combination. I was like, oh my gosh, we'll have to swap it around. Someone tried to take Charizard, but they actually couldn't legally have Charizard, which was very good for me because I wanted it, and now I have it. Yeah. Shoutouts, the homie. Charizard, welcome back to Bacon and Eggs. A long-established team, which loves the hell out of Charizard. As does Shotgun Bait, of course, and Breath Mints. Now, the next Pokemon, this is when I was like, I am so short on Pokemon that can fit this slot. There are so few Pokemon with a base stat below 30 or above 130 that are in the game and have 6-7 weaknesses or 6-7 resistances. I think it was like this or Torkoal, I think was the only other option, but like I said, I was confused and I thought Mono Fire types didn't count, which is really dumb because I knew the Fire had 6 resistances. Actually, I made an objective tier list many years ago about Terra types, where it was just literally just a tier list of how many types those Terras resist. And Fire was in second place after Steel because it has 6 resistances, which is very helpful. There's a lot of weaknesses as well, and I obviously can limit what Pokemon want to use Fire, and there's always matchup context there. But just remembering that Fire is 6 resistances is pretty good. Yeah, so Avalok Hisway has 6 or 7 weaknesses. It's got Wine Guard, I think. It's got a very high defense stat, so it doesn't really mind as much when the Sword of Ruin is up. It's a second Ice type, which I only just realized now it's a second Ice type, so you'd think it was a Rock type. But it has, oh sorry, I forgot the other category of move that benefits is Spread Moves, because it allows you to get extra damage by hitting 2 Pokemon once. How did I mess that up? I don't know, I should probably do video essays at some point, but that requires me writing, which I don't. So yeah, his Avalok, the Bite of 87, because look at that jaw. That homie absolutely did the Bite of 87. I don't even know. Yes, so... Oh, I'm stupid. This is the Pokemon with 150 plus defense. Literally the, 2 Pokemon after, no, 3 Pokemon after. Avalok Hisway has 154 defense, I believe? Or 194, maybe? He's got a lot of defense. I'm a level with you, Chief. He has 184 defense. That's a lot. That's very high above the thing. Also, I think he has Okay, no, I was gonna say a base stat below 30. No, it's 36 special defense, which is bad, but it's not below 30. It's got. I've noticed there were a lot of Pokemon that have like exactly 30 or like slightly above 30 stats, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, Avalok Kisway is on the team. That's the Bite of 87. I have used this Pokemon once, and it seemed really bad. But we'll see if I can make use of it on this very bad team, because I'm sorry to say it keeps getting worse. So for my next pick, I picked Alolan Raichu, which is what's 9 plus 10. It's weak to bug. I didn't want to spend all the points that I couldn't afford on Rangaroo, which was like felt like my only other option at the time. Because every other pick was grass type, and like not even like there were a lot of grass types that weren't even eligible because like Pumpkaboo, for example, Gourgeist rather. I think 1 isn't in the game and 2 isn't weak to bug. I think I mean you'll see what I wind up picking as my grass type that's weak to bug. See if I wind up getting stuck with another grass type as well, instead of Sylveon in the first friend slot, 3S slot. So Alolan Raichu gives me access to Fake Out and Nuzzle, so it's got some support options here. Apparently someone thought that I was going to get Pincurchin in my free slot after I drafted Alolan Raichu and Iron Hands. I guess you guys just have to wait and see whether I drafted Pincurchin in that slot. But I didn't even think about the fact that Raichu has an ability. I was just like, this guy, has like Illuminate, but yeah. So it does it, but you may remember back a few seasons, I made it. I won the conference finals and I made it all the way to the grand finals. So I won, the season of the people that I drafted against, but I wound up technically not winning overall, but still got a champions roll out of it. Just the champions with an asterisk roll out of it. With my team, which had like the Executes, had like Execute, and was that I think that might have been the draft subject to flooding team? I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it was draft subject to flooding, right? With Alolan Raichu, and even if I'm not running electric terrain, you can still have like a psychic terrain theoretically flex in, and it's able to like click expanding force, but it can certainly a rising voltage if it has electric. I think I had that like the Zekrom team, which was like electric types and photosynthesis Pokemon from like my last ever singles league that was on this channel. No, that's not true because the BFR weird formats thing was technically a singles league. But like previously, around when I quit the A to Z series, it was going up the singles draft where I had Alolan Raichu on that as well. As a Terra Captain, it was pretty good. It's able to put out a lot of damage. It's got pretty solid utility options. I think it has Taunt Knocker. I'm not 100 on that though. It's got Follow Me. No, it doesn't. That's in Napdex. That's probably why it's 5 points. Oh well, it's still got Fake Out and Nuzzle. I hope. It's got Fake Out. And sometimes just having like an extra special attacker, clicking electric psychic type moves, it's reasonably fast. Just sort of adds a little bit more to strategic depth for my team. And again, I just didn't want to spend the money on a Rangaroo. I got a couple of Pokemon that technically synergize with a Rangaroo, Iron Hands, Avalok, Marina, but I'm probably going to run into other people with slower teams than that. And yeah, that's my Gen 6-7 and weak to bug Pokemon. Now my next pick was Decidueye, who is lead for Lead Speak. Many people watching this will probably not know what Lead Speak is, both young and old, and is so dead. But there we go. There's Decidueye. It's a beautiful ghost grass owl. It's a ghost type because the owl it's based on is extinct, I believe. But that might be disinformation, or it'd be misinformation because it's not willfully wrong. It's just me having listened to something and maybe the thing that I listened to is it's not that good. But it's an archer. It's a ghost type. It's got Shadow Sneak, which is boosted by Chien-Pao's thing. It also has the Spirit Shackle move, which is a signature move, which allows it to prevent another Pokemon from switching out. Which, like I said, that can allow me to synergize with the Parashon from Purina. But the really cool thing about having 3 starters is that I can use the pledges. So if I use, say, Grass Pledge and Water Pledge from Decidueye and Primarina, then I make it so all my opponent's Pokemon have 1 water speed for several turns. I think 3 turns? I'm not actually 100% sure how many turns it is. Which is good because Decidueye and Primarina are slow. So them being able to actually move would probably be helpful. And then I can also do Fire Pledge and Grass Pledge, so that's Charizard and Decidueye, and that puts up Sea of Fire, I think it's called. which does damage at the end of turns to both your Pokemon. Not as much as it would from like a Gigantamax Charizard. Wildfire? Is that what it was called? G-Max Wildfire, I think. But still, like, nice to get permanent damage on opposing Pokemon, and the only consequence is that you have to use 2 bad Pokemon on the field. Or you can have Charizard and Primarina, which together make the effects Rainbow, which means that my moves will have Serene Grace, so they have a double chance of putting out any secondary effects. Currently, outside of like Scald from Primarina, most of my moves don't have high secondary effects. I've got Rock Slide from Avalugg as well, so maybe if I was in Trick Room after that, it would be cool. Or maybe if I somehow set up both Swamp and Zeophy, even though I'm pretty sure if you set up, sorry, Swamp and Rainbow, I'm pretty sure if you try to set up one, the next one, it replaces the previous one, I think. I don't really remember how the pledges work. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of maths and science and stuff behind it. So I have that option. But to be honest, I didn't think about that until I was like preparing for this video. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I have the different styles. I can do pledges. Decidueye is mostly just here because it's a Pokemon that I occasionally enjoy using, and it only costs 4 points, and I had no points. As you can see, my points start with the letter L. So to briefly explain, Lead Speak was, I think, mostly associated with like Newgrounds, which was an online animation thing where you'd see a lot of the flash animations, stuff like that, and it's short for Elite, as in like very good at something. And it would use like weird spellings of words, and it would use numbers in place of letters. And I thought it sort of fit as one of the options here. But as we continue, we only have 2 slots left, and I can guarantee you the last 2 Pokemon are even cheaper than Decidueye, because the next Pokemon I drafted was Spupa, which is 69 nice. I think that this 6'9" image is from the show Lucifer. At least I think that's the guy who plays Lucifer in the show Lucifer. Spupa has the ability Friend Guard, which makes it so that your partner Pokemon take less damage, which is cool. It's actually the opposite of Sword of Ruin, right? Which means your partner Pokemon can take more damage. So I always thought that was funny. It also has access to like Rage Powder. The important thing is it's 29 speed, which is below 30. So it's legal as a Generation 6 or 7 Pokemon. There were very, very few options in this slot, and I kept putting Spupa as my backup. So because we were doing it like a sync auction, I put in my like first Pokemon. I wound up figuring out that I would have like 2 or 3 spare points at the end of my full draft if I get everything I wanted. So I'd always put in like an extra 2 or 3 points in every Pokemon, and then put the backup in as Spupa, unless I had a specific backup. Like for Primarina, I put in the backup of Samurott Hisui as like an alternative Pokemon in the Primarina slot. And I could wind up potentially doing Sylveon in the Decidueye slot. But yeah, I wound up just putting Spupa in as backup any round I didn't have a hard back. Any Charizard had the backup. No, it wasn't Brione, it was Marshtomp, wasn't it? It's Marshtomp. Is it Marshtomp? Marshtomp 50 speed? That's Marshadow. Marshtomp is 50 speed. Brione is also 50 speed. Okay, there were 2. So there were 4 total Pokemon, 2 Fire Starters and 2 Water Starters. I think I was looking to see if there was a Grass Starter option, and there wasn't. And I didn't think I could justify Chestnut on the team draft. So yeah, there's Spupa. And I got another 2-point Pokemon, which is, it's over 9,000! Blossom. You may ask why Blossom is over 9,000, and that's because I think that the hair flower kind of looks like a Scouter, and that is the entire thought process I put into it. You may ask why Spupa is at 69, it's because it was from Generation 6, that's the entire thought process. There was only so much thought I had. I was getting towards the end of the number memes, especially with the last one. But yeah, so this is the last Pokemon in the Doku. I was deciding between Blossom and Hisui and Voltorb. Both those Pokemon are, I would say, between bad and horrifically bad. But I'm gonna see if maybe I can make Blossom shine. You know, I've got support options. I probably wouldn't say decent support options. I have no Steel type. No Steel type sucks. But I have the incredible flying resists of Raichu and Avalugg. Truly, such vaunted Pokemon. I'm also so glad that Alolan forms counted as originating in Gen 7, because otherwise I would have been really screwed. But yeah, I got Blossom. It's got Helping Hand, and that might be the only move it collects. I think I got a lot of Pokemon with Helping Hand, which is often how I like to do that, because if you compare Helping Hand Boost with like Chien-Pao sort of ruin ability, your Chien-Pao can do very high numbers of damage. Maybe Blossom has Pollen Puff? I'm not sure. If it does, that's also nice. I do like that. Yeah, Beta screens. I don't know. I didn't really look at what Blossom gets. I was mostly just like, would I ever bring Voltorb? And Matt told me no, and I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. So I got a Blossom, and it's over 9,000. There are over 9,000 reasons to drop Blossom, but you won't be one. And the final pick that I had planned, literally since the start of the draft, Dragonite to pair with Chien-Pao, which is E, which is like scientific notation to indicate very big number, which means I've got, of course, Nan E Inf, which means not a number, which is E, which is multiplied to the power of 10 or whatever, infinite, because that's how much damage you do with the Terra Normal Dragonite Extreme Speed with Chien-Pao. Oh, freedom. Chien-Pao Dragonite, my favorite combination, is finally back in Pokemon Draft. It's been at least, last time I drafted Chien-Pao, I had it with Rayquaza, which is basically Chien-Pao Dragonite, but it's not the same. Also, the Rayquaza at some point in the season turned to Mega Rayquaza. That was kind of confusing. I didn't wind up putting anything from that season on YouTube. I didn't feel like it made that sense with the servers. But this one, I need something to come in between. I think what's probably going to happen with this is that this will be like my Monday videos until the end of, until the start of the next VBL season, and then I'll be releasing, like this will start coming out after VBL finishes. Even though at the very least I'll be playing another game this week, so this will be at least 1 week delayed, and could be even 2 weeks delayed if I have a if I win again. Right, each time I win can go back further. So we'll see how it goes, right? But it's used Dragonite. This might wind up coming out in like days or something instead, once VBL kicks up. Or, depending on how long it takes, I could do a week of oh, I didn't even say what draft league this is called. This is called the Untitled Draft League. So I could do a week of UDL at the end. But the most important thing is that Dragonite, the Pokemon that is in the Pokedoku, is a number. Sorry, is a letter, not a number. But it's a letter that's used to represent numbers. Just like how Dragonite is used to represent my feelings. Thank you all so much for watching. Please prep as much as you can for Rainbow, which surely I'll be running Rainbow every week. Goodbye.